Okay, guys, happy Monday, baby. Is your Monday like mine? It's hard, dude. It's all relative, though. You've been tried? What? What's going on, Mark? Okay, now, this is one of those, how do I say this, man? We're just going to kind of talk brass tacks today. You know, there are some passages and there's some times of just like, for example, like encouragement. We go into Philippians and, you know, there are different seasons and there are different things. And I think the best way to really explain this, maybe I have UFC on my mind. I'm kind of a boxing guy and, you know, I love the UFC. It's kind of a guilty pleasure. I kind of feel guilty that I love the UFC so much because it's just, you know, it's basically people hurting each other. But I just love it. I watched boxing with my granddad and, you know, so let me use a boxing metaphor. You know, let me talk to the guys, girls out there. And, you know, I even dated a girl once and I actually had the privilege of learning how to do some boxing. And man, it's the hardest sport, dude. In fact, I think that if we would all just kind of glove up and go to the ring or do some sort of physical exercise, I think that if we can use the metaphor of boxing or athletics in our spiritual disciplines, I think we would understand trials better, you know. Like for example, I was watching a UFC kind of a post-fight with Nate Diaz, and you know, I just do not like that leprechaun. So, and I love Nate Diaz, and so it's just almost impossible for me to watch the UFC right now without getting upset because, you know, I just don't like the leprechaun. Nate Diaz didn't do as good as I wanted him to do, and anyway, don't get me on boxing. The point is, you know, in his post-interview, Nate Diaz said something so interesting. He was talking about how he fought hurt. It's like, what are you doing fighting hurt, dude? You know, you got a leprechaun, dude. You got to kill that leprechaun. You know, if you don't know who the leprechaun is, it's McGregor. Just Google Nate Diaz and the fucking leprechaun, all right? Anyway, I just can't stand that guy. Anyway, Nate Diaz. So he's fighting hurt. And I'm going to get to why we're looking at Mark 3 in a second. It says this is chapter 4. It says, give attention to this. But I got to set this up because a lot of times we read the Bible and it's flat because we don't really get it. Or at least if you're like me, you know, you read this forever and you didn't really understand the way the Bible works. And so I'm kind of trying to draw a metaphor from boxing. So anyway, I'm watching this Nate Diaz interview and he's like, yeah, you know, in preparing to fight, he fights and one of his sparring partners got him in the ribs. And, you know, I think, you know, dude, do we have a place for raw warfare in the spiritual realm? You know, and a lot of times if I were to even mention, you know, sparring and fighting and, you know, and just like, when was the last time you went up against somebody and they fucking hit you in the ribs with some truth or with some, you know, encouragement or, you know, I mean, you know, we have to have a place for rigorous warfare, you know. And again, if you want to see what it looks like, you know, go into athletics or think of boxing, think of a boxer, you know, and every boxer gets hit in the face. And even yesterday, I was just kind of on Twitter, and I might have, in fact, you can follow me on Twitter at Fibonojji. I might have put on, you know, pictures of Muhammad Ali's hands after a fight, and I'm like, dude, you know, that's what my spiritual life looks like. You know, that's what my life feels like a lot of times. It feels like it's a fucking fight, dude. It feels like it's a warfare, you know, a street fight. And then I go through other seasons, dude, it feels like Easter, dude. Just everything's nice and pretty and pastel. And then other times it's like fucking war. So anyway, give attention to this. Chapter 4. So if you're at that time and you're just at that place where you're like, dude, okay, you know what? I need to talk to the prophet. I need to talk to the guy of warfare. You know, and I'm not trying to be against the pastor. I was about to say, you know, if you kind of, I don't want to name names here, but because you know, I think there's pastors and there's prophets. Pastors are very comforting. They're going to talk about, you know, sweet Jesus, and Jesus is sweet. And then you can talk to a prophet. You're going to talk to me. You're going to talk to Jonathan. You're going to follow me at Fibonojji. It's going to be, dude. This is going to be a fighter, dude. This is going to be warfare. Enneagram 8. However you want to get there, let's go to Mark 4, chapter 4, verse 3. It says, give attention to this. I love it when the Bible highlights itself. So let me talk to you about something that's so important. And getting this, you're going to get it or you're not. You know? See, we're going to talk about the dynamic of the Bible relative to spiritual warfare. We're going to try to do it quick too. It says the sower sows the word, right? Give attention to this. The sower sows the word. What is the word? First John, the Gospel of John, says the Bible is the word. In fact, just go to First John and read First John relative to verse 14. It says, "Sower sows the word." Now, here's the dynamic. Here's the warfare, dude. You got to get this. Don't want to sound judgmental, but so important. You have to understand this. As the one, so the word is the Lord. The Lord is the word. The words of the Bible are literally God manifest, incarnate. It's one aspect of God. It says the one along the path are those who have the word sown in their hearts. But when they hear, Satan comes at once by force and takes away the message. So there's the word, and then it says, okay, so there's the word, like there's Psalms 23, for example. Let's just look at Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd. He will feed, guide, and shield me. I will not lack. Now that's the word. And in those words, despite my frailty, despite my Wi-Fi connection, despite if I'm holding this camera correctly, and despite if I have good music, Psalms 23, baby. And that's it, the Lord is. And with that, he's our shepherd, and we shall not lack. He's going to feed, guide, and shield us. Now, that's our relationship. Now, that's the truth. Whether you believe it or not, that's not what we're talking about here. I'm trying to talk about how the word works. And then once I say that, the dynamic is evil will come against that word. And then when evil doesn't come against it, it says, this is so interesting, I think. It says, then the cares and the anxieties in the word and the distractions and the pleasures will seep in and suffocate the word. Choke it, baby. And you're like, what? I've never heard that. Here's Luke 8. It says the same thing. It says, the seed is the word of God. And it says the devil will come and try to take that out of our hearts. How does evil, Satan, the devil, whatever word you want to use, evil, I like the word evil, how does evil come against that? It says, for those that have no root, they will be suffocated and choked. And the anxieties and the cares and the riches. It's really interesting that both anxieties as well as pleasure will take the word out of our lives. I didn't know that for the longest time. And I thought that was, let's go back here. I didn't know that. So there's two sides of that sword. There's the word and there's pleasure, and then there's anxieties. Some people, the word will be choked out with anxieties, just fear. And other times, just like, man, they're just, things are too good. You ever know those people that were just too coddled as children? They were just literally too coddled. I know several people, and the word's not active in their life because they were just too coddled, and they just kind of never left home, failure to launch. So how the word is removed, that's, different people have different ways. For me, the word is left in both ways, through anxieties. But the most important thing is to remember that once the word is sown, evil comes and takes it, and it's suffocated and choked. What's choking the word out of your life? In fact, right after you watch this video, just kind of pay attention. Pay attention to your life. And I think it's really interesting here. Here's the promise. But for those that the seed is in their hearts, for those people who hearing the word hold to it fast and just in a virtuous way. Think of that. However you want to do that, in a worthy heart. What's that? Steadily bring fruit with patience. Patience. It's interesting how we're supposed to hold the word's supposed to come into our lives. We're supposed to endure the suffocation, the anxieties, the pleasure. And then if we hold fast with a worthy heart, we will steadily bring fruit with patience. And then you go to John 15. So if I were to come teach this to your church, or to your organization or to you, I would just say, guys, let's go to John 1. Let's go to Mark 8. Let's go to Luke. Let's go to Mark 4, and then let's go look at Luke 8. That's the dynamic. So I don't know where you're at. I don't know. Where are you, baby? LA got to be my knees, baby. All right, guys, that's the dynamic. Watch this video again. Again, the most important thing is to keep the word in your heart. Keep the word in your heart. So, let me just go to one here. For example, I love this one. Psalms 57 says, I will cry to God Most High